The Dalek Supreme Council is a ruling body of Daleks that acts as the administrative authority of the Dalek race. During the reign of the Dalek Emperors, the Supreme Council acted as a sort of Dalek cabinet, advising the Emperor and maintaining order in the Dalek Empire. In the absence of an Emperor, there have been times when the Supreme Council assumed leadership of the entire Dalek species. Made up mostly of Dalek Supremes, the Supreme Council has existed in various incarnations across the history of the Daleks. Not every member of the Supreme Council is a Dalek Supreme, as the members of the Emperor's Guard also make up part of the Council. Likewise, not every Dalek Supreme was on the Supreme Council, as only Dalek leaders with considerable power or influence were granted a seat. The Supreme Council had many emissaries, some of which also held a seat on the Council. The Council was known to dispatch red Daleks to speak on their behalf, and at least one member of the Council donned a distinctive gold and black casing that set it apart from the standard Dalek warriors. The Supreme Council originally played an administrative role in the Dalek Empire, managing the various sectors of Dalek space and dealing with the day-to-day management of work camps, factory worlds, and fleet logistics. But it grew in power over time, though as it did so, its numbers dwindled. The civil war on Skaro between the forces of the Emperor Dalek and the humanized Daleks further reduced the Supreme Council's numbers. Originally made up of every prominent Supreme Dalek in the Empire, the Supreme Council was eventually whittled down to just a single Supreme Dalek. However, there were several different incarnations of the Dalek Supreme Council across the complex Dalek timeline, some of which having dozens of members and others having less than 10. So it is possible that the Council constantly replenished its numbers, or that several distinct Dalek Councils existed throughout Dalek history. Due to the contradictory and sometimes overlapping nature of the Dalek timeline, we are not sure exactly what became of the Supreme Council in the lead up to the Time War. Some sources suggest that the last remaining member of the Supreme Council established the Restoration Empire in the fallout of the Dalek Civil War, but this is unconfirmed. By the time the Time War came around, the Dalek leadership appeared to have fragmented, with many operations decentralized, as the Emperor was assisted and advised by the Dalek Time Strategist, and there were many different high-ranking Daleks who were responsible for a variety of projects and strategies throughout the war, some of which were so outside the reach of purview of the Dalek leadership that they took unsanctioned action to further their own ends. Following the Time War, the Emperor appeared to have eliminated the need for a Supreme Council, instead dubbing himself the God of all Daleks, though he still surrounded himself with a sycophantic circle of high-ranking Daleks, including his personal guard and several commanders. Subsequent Dalek rulers would also take up a position as singular leader with no Supreme Council, such as the Supreme Dalek of the New Dalek Empire, the Supreme Dalek of the New Dalek Paradigm, and the Prime Minister of the Daleks. However, the latter did have a Parliament of Daleks acting as an advisory body, which in practice was like a huge Supreme Council made up of hundreds, perhaps thousands of Dalek governors. The original Paradigm Daleks acted as a form of Supreme Council, as the Dalek Supreme, Dalek Strategist, Officer Class Drones, and presumably the Dalek Scientists and the mysterious Eternal Dalek held a higher rank than the standard Bronze Daleks of the restored Dalek race. However, the New Dalek Paradigm never referred to themselves as a Supreme Council, and although a Dalek High Command was mentioned in Eve of the Daleks, no further reference to the Dalek Supreme Council has been made in New Who, so it is likely that the final incarnation of the former ruling body of the Daleks was disbanded permanently at the conclusion of the Time War. What do you think of the Dalek Supreme Council? Do you think that this Dalek leadership body will appear in the new series? What other distinct Daleks do you think held a position on the Council? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.